But first, let's begin here. Developing this morning, growing frustration and a demand for answers on those mystery drones over the East Coast. Well, New York Governor Kathy Hochul says state-of-the-art drone radar technology is now headed to her state as thousands of these sightings leave the public scratching their heads, worried about what in the world is up in the sky. News Nation's Tom Dempsey has the latest from Washington this morning. Tom, people living under the flight path of these drones aren't the only ones frustrated or concerned here. How are lawmakers trying to combat them?
Hey, good morning, Mark. Yeah, look, concerns seem to be growing about all of this due to the lack of clear answers from the federal government and whether or not federal authorities are doing enough to stop these drones. We saw even more sightings over the weekend, but Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas recently commented about all this, promising a thorough investigation, and he's also confirmed no evidence of foreign involvement. Also, New York Governor Kathy Hochul has announced federal authorities are deploying advanced drone detection systems in the state. And on Sunday, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer urged Homeland Security to deploy specialized technology called the Robin, capable of identifying and tracking drones back to their landing locations.
Why do we have more questions than answers? Some of the drones are small. Some of the drones' flight patterns are erratic. Multiple drones flying together can confuse a traditional radar system. And that's why, again, this new technology can really get us the answers that we need.
All right, guys, so we have to continue our story about the drone invasion that apparently is taking place all over the United States and in some parts of the world. Now, this story is getting crazier and crazier and crazier and crazier, and this is probably the most crazy aspect of the story that we have to talk about today, because yesterday we talked about how these drones have forced airports in New York to shut down. Okay, they forced temporary shutdowns of the runway due to the fact that these things just seem to be able to fly around anywhere with impunity. And now we got to talk about the fact that these things allegedly are shutting down U.S. Air Force bases. Okay, no, I said U.S. Air Force bases. These drones are shutting down military bases, right? That is what has happened. But according to the Biden administration, according to his lackeys and people like Adam Kinzinger, no, it's nothing to worry about. These things, they're just airplanes, right? Don't worry. That's it. It's nothing unusual going on here. Take a look.
Let's talk further now with former Congressman Adam Kinzinger. Good to see you, Congressman. So, what do you make of how federal agencies have thus far responded to these sightings so far? Secretary Mayorkas saying, we're looking at them. They pose no national threat at this time. Is enough being said or done to reassure people?
I mean, look, if people don't want to be reassured, then the answer is no. And, look, what I'm hearing from Homeland and what I'm hearing from FBI is we don't see a threat here. And look, honestly, every video I've seen, and I've spent the last couple of days looking at every one of these videos, every video I have seen on Twitter or on the internet are all airplanes. They're literally all airplanes. Some of them will show an airplane that's kind of stable out there and says that's a drone. And actually, it's an airplane flying towards you at 30,000 feet. And I can see the lighting on it. And if there are drones out there, by the way, and if any of these pictures that they have shown are actual drones, these drones then are complying with FAA lighting requirements, a green on the right, a red on the left with a strobe. And so it's not Iran, it's not aliens if there are drones. My guess is if there are drones, again, because again, all I've seen are airplanes, then it is more than likely some company that's out testing drones or something like that and has no requirement to tell the public that they're doing it because they're actually operating these things legally. There have been no accusations of illegal operations. By the way, as a pilot myself, I can fly over a military base whenever I want. Those restrictions don't exist. So I think there's a lot of mass hysteria, and I've heard stories of people pointing lasers at these quote-unquote drones, and then the drones' lights go off. Actually, let's be clear. I've been lased as a pilot before. You're supposed to turn off all your lights once you get lased so that they can't find you because it can actually damage your eyes.
Yeah, so if Adam Kinzinger is saying that they're just planes and there's nothing to worry about, then they're definitely not just planes and there is something to worry about. I'm just saying, all the wrong people here are reassuring us that there's nothing to worry about. And all of these people, I do not trust. Okay, Mayorkas, huge liar. Adam Kinzinger, huge liar. Biden is silent. Okay, and everybody else seems to be on the verge of freaking out, including the officials, Democrats, Republicans. Everybody is basically looking at the Biden administration, demanding answers, and they're just like, we don't have anything. And again, now we have these things forcing our key U.S. Air Force bases to shut down, to close. You would think that this would be the number one news story today.
An alarming drone incident that forced one of the U.S.'s most critical Air Force bases to close its airspace for several hours. This happened at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base over the weekend in Ohio. And just in, new air traffic control audio obtained by military news website The War Zone of the moment it happened.
Med Flight 8 Patterson Tower, use extreme caution for heavy UAS movement on the base. Security forces is handling the situation, and I gotta keep the lights down so that security forces can see.
Ohio, now the latest of several states to report drone concerns as scrutiny over the federal response is building. This morning, lawmakers are demanding government officials do more and explain more after weeks of suspicious sightings.
I've had briefings, as I've said, that makes me feel confident based on those briefings that there's not an imminent threat to public safety. But it doesn't answer the question, where are all these drones coming from that people are seeing? And why aren't we doing a better job of tracking them and understanding that? It can't be the Wild West of drones out there in Jersey or anywhere else. We got to get to the bottom of this, and people deserve answers.
And ahead, we'll speak to more lawmakers who are concerned. CNN Sunlen Sarfati is in Washington. Sunlen, what more is the administration planning to do? There are a lot of concerns that have turned to frustration and anger, frankly.
That's absolutely right, Sarah. Concern is growing and pressure certainly is increasing on the administration to be more transparent and clear in how they're handling this and distribute the information that they know. This incident at the Air Force Base over the weekend at Wright-Patterson, right outside Dayton, Ohio, really increasing the alarm. The fact that that airspace was closed for 4 hours. This is, as you noted, a very critical airspace. Air Force Center hosts the Air Force Research Lab, the National Air and Space Intelligence Center. So certainly concerning that a drone would be flying in that airspace overhead. And it comes as these drone sightings are only increasing, now extending beyond New York and New Jersey, but other places, especially in the Northeast. So that only increasing the alarm here.
Yeah. So again, this is Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which has a history of being one of these hotbeds for unknown phenomena. Like, for example, everybody should be familiar with Roswell and Wright-Patterson, how allegedly the crash materials from there were escorted to that Air Force base. All I know is this, right? And I really hate saying this on camera, but I feel like this is the only way that I can describe this. Whatever these things are, which I'm hoping they are ours, right? I'm hoping they belong to the U.S. military. Our military has surrendered, right? I'm just being real. Like, whatever these things are, okay, the military, through their actions, are basically saying, we give up, right? We give up because you have these things flying over military air bases. So you mean to tell me that the military is shutting down their operations because of the drones? Instead of shooting down the drones, they're shutting down their operations because they don't want to engage with the drones that badly, right? Like, that's how bad they don't want any piece of whatever these drones are, which again, I'm hoping they're the US's, right? I'm hoping it's some secret black project or something like that. I don't know. But whatever they are, the military, through their inaction, they're basically waving the white flag. They're saying, we do not want to engage these things at all. We would allow ourselves to be shut down before engaging these things. What type of message does that send to our foreign adversaries? Seriously, if you're Russia and China, right? What type of message do you think that the U.S. is sending to you? That, hey, you can just fly around our airspace and we'll fold, right? We're not going to shoot you down. We're not going to attack. We're not going to defend ourselves. That's the message being sent. So I'm just saying, if this is the U.S. government, right? These drones are actually the U.S. government. They better have a damn good reason for why they're doing all of this, because this is not the type of message you want to send to foreign adversaries unless the U.S. government believes that these drones are something that we just do not have the capabilities of dealing with, right? Where they just say, you know what, it's just better to just let them do whatever rather than to engage them, because we just don't have the ability to actually fight them. That's the message that I'm starting to get. And I'm not trying to go full tinfoil hat here, but I'm just telling you from the actions, right? Actions. This is not making sense. This is getting into the territory where there's going to be a lot of growing concern if our military is showing that they're completely and totally unwilling to engage with these objects at all. I don't understand the point of having restricted airspace or an Air Force when you're just letting anything fly around in our airspace with impunity, right? That's what's happening. No punishment whatsoever. You can just fly around. You can fly anything, blah, 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 blah. Like, what's the point of having all these laws and these rules and all of these things that we use in order to control our airspace if we're just going to let these things fly around and do whatever the hell they want, including shut down military bases? It doesn't make sense. It makes zero sense. The government is hiding something that they really, really, really do not want people to know about. And they're helpless to do anything about it. That's what it looks like. That's what it's starting to look like. So I'm hoping they're ours, right? And the last thing I want is for these things to belong to a foreign adversary, because if they belong to a foreign adversary, again, you're basically telling China and Russia, yeah, the U.S., you can just do whatever the hell you want, right? You can launch an aerial invasion of this country and we're not going to do anything. That's the message being sent. This is a big deal. This is a huge deal. Biden, he's going to have to come out and address this. We're going to have to get some real leadership right now, right? Crazy how this is happening. 1 month before Trump takes office, when we're at the weakest point we've ever been as a country when it comes to leadership, right? Nasty work. The fake alien invasion a month before Trump comes into office. Nasty work.
And we have seen a recalibration of sorts from the administration over the weekend, really leaning into this message that they are on it, despite, as you noted, some frustration from lawmakers demanding more answers. But we heard from the Secretary of Homeland Security over the weekend saying that he is not aware of any direct national security concerns and trying again to tell the public that the administration is on it. Here's what the Secretary had to say.
There's no question that people are seeing drones, and I want to assure the American public that we in the federal government have deployed additional resources, personnel, technology to assist the New Jersey State Police in addressing the drone sightings.
So the administration, they're really trying to express that they're increasing some resources to take care of this issue and learn more about this issue. Meantime, Republican Mike Waltz of Florida, President-elect Donald Trump's incoming national security advisor, really taking issue with where exactly these drone sightings are happening, specifically over military sites and restricted airspaces. Here's what he had to say.
I think what the drone issue points out are kind of gaps in our agencies, gaps in our authorities. Between the Department of Homeland Security, local law enforcement, the Defense Department. It's pointing to gaps in our capabilities and our ability to clamp down on what's going on here. And we need to get to the bottom of it. And I think the Biden administration is working to do that.
Now, lawmakers on both sides, though, Sarah, are certainly expressing very vocal frustrations on the part of the administration here for what they believe is not being as transparent as they would like and calling for new regulations over drones. So this certainly is going to be something, Sarah, we are going to see on Capitol Hill this week. All this talk about the drones and the concerns over the security.
Yeah, so you've seen that, you heard that. Now, again, maybe this is a power play, right? Maybe this is all a psyop for the government to be able to gain more power and control, more regulations. I just don't know what so-called regulations are going to do, right, to these drones. I feel like at this point, we're being trolled so hard about what's actually happening. Like, it's just one of those things where you got to wait and see. If these things continue to pop up with more frequency, okay, and it gets to the point where they're shutting down multiple major airports across the country and more military bases, the frustration and the panic is only going to continue to grow, okay? And it's going to get to the point where there could possibly be full-blown chaos if the Biden administration does not remedy this situation quickly, right? Because the genie's out the bottle, right? I mean, this event that has happened over the past month or so, it's so big, it's not just going to go away, right? People are going to be demanding concrete answers about what the hell has happened over the last month. And something has to give, right? The government's going to have to come clean. They got to stop gaslighting the American people, because if you're saying these things are not a threat, then why the hell are you shutting down military bases? Why are you not engaging with these things? Why are you allowing mass hysteria? Why are you allowing all of this stuff to happen if they're not a threat? If you don't know who they are, how do you know they're not a threat? That's the part that doesn't make sense. None of these people are making any sense whatsoever. And they better really address this soon, or else I think that this is only going to snowball into a much worse situation. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.